The crazy part was just like, it was history that was made. The first trillionaire.
There is a lot of speculation and risk with what SpaceX is doing with their rockets, potential of going to Mars and all that. There is a lot. What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Autonomous Income. I'm your co-host, Deuce Noble.
And I'm your co-host, DJ. Man, what's going on, Deuce?
Hey, man, we're living in this world that is autonomously getting faster in everything that we're doing. This year, AI has been taking off. A lot of good technology hits that has happened lately. So yeah, we're going to kind of dive into that. DJ, look, WWDC has happened, Google I/O has
Yes.
happened, and a few other big announcements in the space that we often dabble in. So let's go ahead and kind of take a peek under the covers at some of those things and everything in between. And what about you? You got anything specific you want to tackle or talk about?
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot to cover. A lot has happened recently with Anthropic, kind of the yo-yo situation that had to happen with the model. Definitely talking about the first trillionaire. I mean, that's just, crazy to say.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Siri might actually get good. So, yeah.
Well, but there's a caveat for that. But yes, so yes, Siri
Yes,
might
yeah.
actually
Siri might
get
get
good.
good. Yeah.
But all right,
So,
cool.
yeah, just
Yeah.
a lot
Well,
to,
you know
a
what?
lot.
Let's go ahead and touch on that first, look, because SpaceX had their IPO,
Yes.
right? And not only was it grandiose, but what did it do, bro?
Man, the biggest IPO ever. Do something
Ever,
like, ever. So I think it
ever,
opened at
forever, ever.
150, $150, which is crazy. And then, it spiked. I mean, everybody was watching it, just, I have people texting me. You saw people on the socials talking about it and everything like that as it kind of moved throughout the day. But I think it got up as high as 30%, if I'm not mistaken. And then I want to say, don't quote me on this. And this isn't financial advice or anything. It closed the first day around $160, if I'm looking at it correctly. So $160. So roughly up 19%. But regardless of all the numbers and everything, there's other channels that'll break all that down. The crazy part was just like, it was history that was made. The first trillionaire. I mean, and just think, man, I mean, like that company IPO'd, this year. And like, just, I mean, I don't think I didn't expect that to necessarily happen. Like, I know there was a lot of speculation and everything like that, but to kind of see that it orchestrated throughout the day was crazy. What's your take? What's your kind of thought on there?
So, I mean, real quick, of course, if you've been living under a rock or if you're not really in tune with the goings-ons of technology and the stock market, SpaceX, which is a company founded by none other than Elon Musk, IPO'd. And they had their initial public offering, which ended up resulting in Elon Musk becoming the world's first, or was it the US first trillionaire?
I want to say the world's. I don't know if there's ever been a trillionaire individual. Like,
Crazy.
I
It's a
think
crazy.
in history, I want to say Mansa Musa was
Yeah, Mansa
400
Musa,
million, maybe.
he was one
And
of the
I
richest
don't know.
mans ever.
Historians definitely
Either
would
way,
probably know in the comments. Yeah,
it's a
either way,
lot of
it's a lot
money.
of money. A lot of
It's
money.
more money than he could ever spend in his lifetime, his kids' lifetime, and his grandkids' lifetime. I can
Now,
promise you that.
granted, net worth, right? You know what I mean? Like, so we know how
I mean, of
that
course,
works, but
yes, it's net
but
worth, but I'm just
still,
saying,
just,
a
whew,
net worth
yeah,
of $1 trillion, like you got to
that's,
think, $1 million is a lot, right?
yeah.
And but a billion, 1 billion is over 999 million, right? So you got to think a trillion. Have you ever seen the drawings of what $1 trillion look like in like cash? Crazy.
That's
My
just
whole thoughts
crazy.
though, if we talk about SpaceX and the IPO, I think it's really, really dynamic with what they are doing, what they have been doing, and what they will continue to do and what they have in their future plans. It'll be interesting to see how all of that continues to play out with the landscape of society today and what has been going on with everything. I'll just say that.
Yeah. So some of the hot takes that I've seen and like, and I can't, basically the speculation is just like, is the value correct? Is it overvalued? All those conversations kind of come into play. And my thing is just like, because a lot of people are just saying like, it's because on the promise of Mars, right? I mean, it's like, the whole, big future, getting to Mars and all this other stuff, terraforming and all those. And like, is that something that, potentially investors should worry about? Like, is everybody betting on something that may not even come to fruition? That type of thing. Just, those are some things that I've seen kind of around. Like when you look at the X verse or the Twitter verse, as they used to call it, and just around the socials and everything like that, is just like, man, like, that's a big bet. Either way, like it's cool. I mean, that's history. You know what I mean? Like we've all been a part of history to kind of see that. A lot of historic things that have been going on, like the biggest comeback in NBA history was. I'll drop that for right now. get some team,
Hey,
man. But
it's
I'm
a
drop
great
that.
storyline, honestly. Great storyline. I mean, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But yes, but yeah, like you said, there is a lot of speculation and risk with what SpaceX is doing with their rockets, potential of going to Mars and all that. There is a lot, but it's very, very interesting just to see it unfold and play out. And I know we've talked about this recently, but just how we got to think how Elon Musk makes his money. Like, okay, we'll look at right now. He has you can say a big three. He owns X, formerly known as Twitter. Of course, we know about Tesla and now SpaceX and whatever else he's been dabbling in, right?
Well, there was
Now
XAI,
these
which
comp
I think that merged with SpaceX, right? XAI, because it was X, and then
yes,
and then
right.
also the Boring Company. So he has the Boring Company
Right. So,
also. Yeah,
so what I'm getting at is like he's using these companies to kind of piggyback off each other and invest into each other
seems
backwards
to
and
be working.
frontwards. You know
Seems
what
to
I'm
be
saying?
working, man. Yeah.
And like XAI and all that thing. And the thing is, like, this is just, I don't know what the rival was to Skynet, but he is building it himself.
Well, you gonna ride that. You go ride. Yeah, I mean,
Hey,
like it's a lot. It's a lot that's going on. I mean, I like the futurism of it. I do like the futurism because, like, as futurists in tech, people in the tech like you and I are deuce. Like, it does get us excited, right? Like self-driving cars, robots, like pushing AI to its boundaries, and space exploration and terraforming Mars. Like, all of that sounds cool. It really does. Like, good, bad, and different. Like, that just sounds like some cool stuff to be a part
it
of. But
literally sounds like a sci-fi movie.
it sounds like a sci-fi movie, and so like that's the thing that I think some people are just attracted to. At least if they're like us, like that are into those things. But then on the opposite side of the fence, like I do talk to some people that are just like not opposed. Either because they don't like the individual, or they just don't like us pushing robotics and all those other things, and the job displacement and all those things with it. So it's just like that seems to be a continuous hot topic, and I don't foresee that going away because there's so many people on opposite sides of the spectrum with that, or opposite sides of the fence, I would rather say. Yeah.
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 Like I said,
But
it's definitely interesting, but
that was crazy, 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 crazy. Which leads us to the next crazy thing. So, what about Siri getting good, Deuce?
this is Siri is now, you could say, back on top, but with a great helping hand. Dude, I will say this, and I double down on this. Big bet. Apple, stick to what you do best, right? And Apple does devices really well in their manufacturing of their hardware. Now, when it came to their software, their Apple Intelligence, their Siri remake over, Siri has, we could say, a facelift or a some work done under the hood with the help of none other than Google Gemini, right? And I think that announcement at WWDC, we knew was coming, right? We kind of was reading the blogs, DJ, and hearing some of the rumor mill that Apple was going to be using Google Gemini as part of their artificial intelligence software or blend or flavor, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, which I think honestly is amazing. I know we've touched on this a few times before. I think that it serves them to do that right. And I think that's a great partnership because, like we said, Apple needs to focus on what they do well. They tried with Apple Intelligence at WWDC 2024, and now 2026. This is like they're doing it right, but with the help of Gemini. So,
Yeah.
what are your takeaways from that, DJ? What are your thoughts? How do you feel? Like,
I mean,
are you going to
I
go back to
honestly,
using Siri?
I don't care because, like, some of my family and friends, they use Android. You and I have always been, just we appreciate
Yeah.
both, right? So one thing I don't like is when somebody who exclusively is in the Apple ecosystem, and they know is Apple, and they're like, "Oh, the iOS is better." I'm like, bro, you haven't even used both sides of it. You know what I mean? Like, you haven't even used
Okay.
Android to kind of say, what's good, bad, and different. So I say all that to say is it's like there are experiences that are on Android, whereas you and I both know, just like notifications in general, right, are better on Android. There are certain things that are better on Android's platform historically. And in this case, models like the just, Gemini, just like years ago, Deuce, you and I were talking about Google Home versus Google Home Pods, right? I mean, just like, and I even want to say, we did something with the innovation lab that, we put all them together and asked a bunch of questions. I know MKHB on his channel, he did, something a long time ago. I don't know if he redid that again to kind of ask them at one point, like, which experience was better. And that, that was years ago. But now, as we get to it now, the long and short of it is just, I just wanted to be capable. So we already know that, years ago they came out with this whole, I think it was the iPhone 16 that, they made all the promises about Apple Intelligence, and it just, really didn't get where it was supposed to go. And then, you look at other people that have Android, and, they have a lot of this baked in. they can ask, Gemini anything kind of on their phone, and it comes up very smart, relevant, and pulls data in. So I'm just happy now to have that, and I think that's really cool. But here's the interesting part. How much does that really mean people now? Does that even secure Apple's walled garden even more? Because why do you need to jump to fix if you're basically getting Gemini, which is, you can say that's arguably the best feature on, you know what I'm saying, like on Android side. So now does that really hurt Google, or do they care because they're probably making money hand over fist with, serving Gemini to Apple? Like, what does that really mean?
That's a great point, and I truly believe we can go back to this, and I'll stand on this. This is my two
On
cents on this whole
business.
whole matter.
Okay, deuces
Look,
2 cents
because
on business.
because this is the thing, Google will always and forever be the big brother to whatever comes out. Like Google is so big, right? Whether it's stuff with AI, the hardware piece, they have consumed so many companies' hardware, Motorola, right, Nest,
Yeah, no,
and
you're right.
they have
You're
just
right.
kind
Yeah.
of spat them back out because Google can do what they want, and they're not going to hurt for this partnership with Apple. And it's not going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Granted, like you got to think, okay, let me put it this way. Globally, what is the most used phone operating
Android.
system?
Android.
Android,
Hands
right?
down. Yeah.
And without a doubt, it shatters what Apple users are, right?
Yeah.
Globally, right? Of course,
Yeah.
here in the States, in the US, it's a little bit different. Google does not care what they what Apple
I
has in
guess,
store,
yeah. Yeah, they probably,
right? You know
yeah.
what I
Because I
mean?
mean,
I
like,
think I
yeah.
think Google is big brother in this. They're like, okay, cool. They're a big fish in a big pond, or a small pond, really, and they can do as they please. And I think this is one of those things where they're going to write that off.
It's interesting, but that's my thing. Is just like, does this make Apple's walled garden even better? And I think it does. So that's
I
the
think it
kind of
does.
question, yeah,
Absolutely.
for the chat. Like, and I think it's a smart move. If you can't beat them, join them, a type situation. And then like, so
Absolutely.
now for me, we've always went between having Android devices and iOS devices, and at one point in life, Deuce and I have always had to have both. Like, you had to keep both on you for development and all this other stuff and testing them out. But now, since like I do like Apple Watch, I do give it that, but I haven't tried the Google Watch. Yeah, like their series of watch where it's looks just
So
as.
the thing is, even with Google, the Google Watch, I guess, okay, the Pixel watches they came out with,
Yeah,
but I believe they have a new line of Fitbits that is coming out.
yeah, because they bought
Because
Fitbit, right?
Google
So
Google bought Fitbit, and it's been a while, but I believe I saw a commercial. Steph Curry was in it. I think it was called the Fitbit Air or Flex or something. You're coming out with a new line, and granted, it's not necessarily a watch, but it's a wearable. And if I'm not mistaken, Gemini was tied into it. But look, let's have a quick look, see. But yeah, it's
I bet, yeah. I mean, like, why wouldn't they, right? If they own the platform, I mean, I'm sure they're trying to use all the intelligence. Like, for me, I like the fact that I think Claude, maybe ChatGPT, OpenAI does this also, but you can pull in your health data that you have from your Apple Watch. And I think Google has potentially the same thing on their side of the fence, that they can pull in their Google Fitness or whatever it's called on their side of the platform, Google Health. You can pull in that data and then have it kind of look at your own data. Like, I think that's really cool, good use case. And I hope they keep refining that and building that out more. But either way, just to get back to the whole Siri thing, I think it's cool. You can actually ask Siri now, and there's a ton of videos on YouTube, and you can go to Apple's UDC announcer where they show some examples. But it really now it has the context. Like, you can ask it, like, show me the picture of Deuce and I, playing golf or whatever the case is. Like, it can search across your pictures, the web. And then, Apple, their main thing was privacy. So they have that's there. It's just pretty interesting that they're using it. I guess Gemini on the back end. And then there was like some situation where OpenAI came out, and I don't know if this was confirmed or not. So I'll say allegedly they came out and said something like Google or Apple was not promoting their version of what they try to do. I remember because ChatGPT had the implementation where, like, if you need broad world knowledge, it would reach out to ChatGPT and kind of do the same, like something similar. But now with this implementation that they worked on with Gemini, is more seamless. And so I think they were just like, hey, well, we could have did that too, and you could have promoted the brand more. Now y'all are doing all this and promoting Gemini. So I don't know. It just either way, I just wanted to function.
So, okay, I will say this. I was spot on. So, the Google Fitbit Air is dropping or has dropped, and it has personalized coaching built with
Nice.
Gemini, right?
That's dope.
So,
Yeah.
pretty sweet, right? Like, and I think right now, Google's bread and butter might be Gemini. Like,
Mm. I
it
mean,
has
yeah.
birthed a whole era of or new wave for them. Like I said, Google, if we look at historically, Google's a software company
Yeah.
and they do that so well. It does not matter what they put out, but Gemini, this AI war and race, has given us one of the greatest tools ever. Like if we look at the whole suite, right, that Gemini has brought us, and Apple using that is going to be interesting. So
Yeah, I mean, and for our dualpreneurs and everything like that, I mean, like this is an extra productivity device. Like you can set up now, you can set up your memorable shortcuts, and you can set up automations, and now you can basically, tell your phone like, hey, text Deuce every Friday our new workout plan or whatever the case is, and it'll actually set that automation up for you. There's a plethora of like use cases now that this opens up because now that Siri is going to be competent. So of course I'm reluctant. I want to, use it and kind of see how it actually functions. But it does seem promising. And like from what I've seen, I know people have access to the beta right now. I don't know if it's released in the beta, but I'm sure we'll hear more about like how it actually functions. And they did do a live demo at WWDC. So we'll see. I'm excited about that, just as an end user for perspective. And then of course, like I said, for entrepreneurs, it's an extra productivity kick, to help things run smoothly because now you have the context of your clients, customers, and everything like that you can draft certain things and set up automations with your device. So we're kind of really getting into that whole what Siri was promised as before with the AI personal assistant. So we'll see how as that unfolds.
I'm definitely excited to see how that unfolds. I feel like if we're talking about everything with technology that's breaking out right now,
Yeah,
we're gearing up for the next wave of new big things, right? And you got to think about what that looks like for different platforms because we have a lot of automation coming out, a lot of
a
robotics that
lot.
are dropping, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about the landscape of everything else, like we've talked about SpaceX, we've talked about other companies and businesses that are gearing towards what is cooking with AI and the
Man, Nvidia
technology.
Spark. Yeah, I mean Nvidia
Right.
Spark. Like we'll have to get on
Nvidia
that.
is
Yeah, and
uh
Nvidia is definitely cooking, man. But I mean
because
they've continued on. I mean,
wasn't
um,
it Google who bought a few chips from Nvidia or something recently?
yeah, they did. They bought Google bought compute from XAI. So they bought it from Elon and Co. because supposedly XAI has moved up to a new tier of chip, which they got from Nvidia, and they had all these chips. They just had like warehouses, or they had a lot of compute that was being unused. So they sold some to Anthropic, and they sold some to Google. I think Google bought some huge amount of
Oh,
compute
that's
from
right.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they can start
Over
training and
over
everything like that.
920 million per month to
Yeah.
lease for
Which is
XAI.
crazy, man. Crazy, yeah, because XAI has moved up to a different tier for training their next best. So we're gonna see,
That's just shy of a billy per month.
but they're making it
Can you
like that, like
imagine
you
getting your
said.
monthly bill and seeing those all those numbers on it?
Now I could like as a company, a business, yeah, but me, shoot,
And
nah,
even as a business, a billion
yeah.
every month for a monthly bill, and that's
Hey
just
man,
a drop in the bucket for them, though.
that's a drop in the bucket, man. But yeah, definitely interesting. Let us know what you think of actually having Siri be capable and everything like that, and definitely, opening up more use cases for you to leverage Siri. And I think, we'll see that'll come out, of course, in line with the new iPhones that'll come out this year. So we'll see how that kind of unfolds, which they're supposed to release also the foldable iPhone supposedly this year. So a lot of things new that'll be coming on the Apple front, and we'll see. What you got, Deuce?
So I want to take a quick pivot. I know we kind of mentioned it earlier. We talked about the greatest comeback in NBA playoff history, right?
Man, finals.
But you know
Yep,
what
yep.
else was attributing to that comeback? The terrible ref calls, right? But what is interesting about that, or not even interesting, something very, very unique, what the NBA is currently exploring
Yep.
is using AI to help make referee calls.
That's right.
Now, they're going to start using that. I know they've already explored it. Don't quote me. I'm not sure if it's coming in the 2026-27 season, but it is coming. DJ, I know we've touched on this a little bit in other sports about how it can help make officiating calls in multiple other sports, right? Whether it's combat sports, football, anything, right?
Yeah.
I am very interested to see how this will work on the scale of the NBA.
Yeah, I
because
mean, I think so. You and I like to stick to everything new that's AI in sports and, entertainment, like just these sectors and especially in sports, because we've covered like, for boxing, right? I mean, calling some of that, or just look for training, seeing like people's vulnerabilities and mapping that out. But also definitely when it comes to NBA, I think that's interesting because, and they didn't say all the calls, Deuce, right? So, I mean, like it was practical. I
not
think
all the
like
calls.
if a ball is out of bounds or, certain things that there could be a lot of human error. I think that is, but it is
However,
very
yeah,
interesting. And I don't know how people are going to take that, man. Like, because there's apparently going to put AI enabled cameras, like they're going to be using computer vision, like all around the court. And, that model will make a determination. And maybe they'll still keep human in the loop, which I'm sure they'll probably do for a while to kind of have like what the AI says. And then, like, of course, they'll probably still do the whole huddle up and review. But I wonder when even that, a lot of that will be more autonomous. I don't think the NBA will ever fully. Well, I'm not going to say that because, eventually probably. But I wonder how long it's going to take for them to kind of fully be like, okay, now we can
well,
have
yeah.
like a,
And one thing
AI
I
kind of
will
handle
say
that.
is shouts out to Adam Silver and the NBA for taking risks because I feel like they're always on the cutting edge of different things, whether it's technology, applying it to their sports, their arenas, and their teams, and
Hmm.
also adapting with the wave of how things are going. And this is where we're going with things. AI is in sports, it's coming, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
Teams use it for other things, right? Now to use it to assist, not to overtake, but assist in officiating
Yeah,
would
what they're
be
saying is like
amazing to
the
see.
the subjective causes where the real refs will
Of
will
course.
still handle, and then more of the objective, like the black and white, like those will be by AI. And apparently they have a hardware. It's the Sony Hawkeye 3D tracking cameras is supposedly what they did. Because I know Adam Silver, sometime in I want to say May, he made some announcement or he was on a show that was talking about that. But that looks like that's the technology that they're going to be using. Do you think Spurs win if they had this technology?
No.
Obviously not. Yeah, yeah, no, it's not, nah, that's my team, but nah, yeah, nah.
Look,
I
not
think the
I'm
Knicks
not going to
just.
get into that. Honestly, I will say this. This is my 2 cents on that whole series. I love the Spurs. I was rooting for them. However, even if they would have won in 7 games, it would have felt like a scam. It would have felt like a sham
Oh,
because not only did I just feel like New York deserves it so much better. They've had deep playoff runs the last few years. That whole storyline behind Jalen Brunson, it writes itself. And don't get me wrong, the
yeah.
San
I
Antonio
mean, and
Spurs are very well off with their young team, and they're going to be a problem in the West for years to come. Between
yeah.
them and the Thunder, it's going to be a battle. However, just seeing what the New York Knicks went through to get that championship,
I mean, it's been what
the
50 something years. I mean, like, and so
not only
even
the
as a,
53 years, but this playoff series, they dropped 2 games to 1 against Atlanta in the first round,
they did in
and
the
then
first
went
round,
on
yeah,
a spree and did not lose until game 3
yeah,
to the San Antonio Spurs in the finals.
yeah.
Historic run.
It was
Like
a historic run.
by far, like I cannot be mad that they won the championship. Right?
And I'm seeing that from a lot I mean, other than the fans and all that stuff that happened outside, beating people up, which is crazy.
Right.
Man, I saw so many memes about like y'all know Texas is open carry. They were just like y'all try that if you want to. Like New York, y'all over there like Texas is open. I mean,
Yo.
but yeah, it was. They were just like, there was memes on both sides. I'm sure about that. But either way, hopefully, that's all cleaned up. But just like to like, for as a fan of the sport in general, like, yeah, I mean, that is kind of cool because it's been so long. But I mean, of course, you want your team to win, and that would
Of
be so
course.
cool.
Of
Like waking up
absolutely,
that
of
next day
course.
and seeing nothing but Knicks this and Knicks that, and I have some family that are Knicks
Of
fan, and
course.
see all that. But I mean, it's been a while. Like, just think, we've had 5 championships since they've had that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I'm like, come on now. So,
But I mean,
and
but
then we
also
have,
look,
like you
when's
said, the young core.
the
Like,
last
yeah,
time the Spurs won was in 2014. That's 11 years
yeah,
ago,
it's been a,
or
it's been
12
a,
years
it's been
ago.
a minute. But I mean, like, it ain't been 1970,
Yeah,
whatever. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah. So,
1973, who wasn't
yeah,
even born?
yeah. What even a thought, man? I think that's the 19s that the kids call it the 19s.
In the
But yeah, just to get
1900s.
back on track, yeah, man, yeah, the 1900s, like that technology. As it rolls out, I mean, we'll definitely be watching as that progresses and changes sports. And NBA is where it starts, but then there's also other sports, like we said before, with boxing. And so for our entrepreneurs, like there are product. And if you want to build something like that for computer vision and have a model specified for boxing training or for basketball with people shooting, like I think as we go forward and that technology gets a little bit better and the hardware gets better, you're going to see a lot of specialized tooling and modeling basically for certain use cases that'll help improve athletes and just all kind of other stuff. So we're definitely looking into that space because I think that's going to be a segment that actually grows a lot. So, NBA officiating, that'll be one thing, but as Deuce and I showed before, and I forgot the company, maybe we'll drop the link down that we kind of talked to and had that conversation and then showcase some of them, but they were doing it for boxers and everything like that and giving them feedback on other boxers and what their weaknesses and opportunities were. And like, so you can strategize. But I'm thinking like, kids that are coming up in AAU, maybe they're like better form or shooting or watching their gameplay and giving them feedback. Really, any sport you can think of, football, both stateside, overseas, and all the things. So, yeah, yeah,
Of course, I think it would be cool to see how that really affects sports here to come.
for sure. So,
Let's go ahead and transition on. I know we took a little caveat pivot outside. All right, listen, I really would love to see what a lot of those sports will look like with a lot of that AI technology coming out, right? But let us know what you guys think, right? How do you think that type of technology would affect the sports that you watch and or play, right? And at what level do you think it's too much or is it not enough? So leave a comment. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch y'all on the next one.